The NBA trade deadline has come and gone, and the New York Knicks made just one move, but it was a very impactful move, and we're going to discuss what that move was in this episode of Fireside Knicks. I'm your host, Dylan Backer, and that is my co-host, Johnny. Let's get right into it right now. So as I mentioned in the opening, the Knicks made one move this trade deadline, but it was a very good move. They acquired Jose Alvarado from the New Orleans Pelicans for Dalen Terry and 2 second-round picks. Dalen Terry was the player that the Knicks acquired just the night before when they moved Guerschon Yabusele to the Chicago Bulls. So Dalen Terry did not even play a single game for the Knicks, but that's besides the point. Adding Jose Alvarado, a guy that was on the Knicks' radar for quite a long time, they finally got their guy. They landed him, and it's a pretty significant move given some recent news. And Johnny, I want to pass it off to you to first off, tell me the initial reaction about the Alvarado trade, because me personally, I love this move.
Yeah, I love it. We spoke many times on Fireside Knicks that we really wanted Jose Alvarado. He's from Queens. He's a hometown type of guy. This is a great deal. We got him for super cheap, pretty much 2 second-round picks that'll be in the year 2026 and 2027, so these upcoming drafts. So they're going to be at the back end of the second round. These are we pretty much got them for free almost. I don't want to say second rounders are free, but when they're at the back of the second round, like you're getting Bronny James there. Like, let's be real, we almost got Jose Alvarado for free. So this is a great deal. Obviously, with the news of Deuce McBride going down for months at this point, this is huge. I think the Knicks kind of kept that Deuce news on the low. I think they kind of knew he was going to be out for a while, for maybe a few days, to really get this deal through the line and over the line. So yeah, I love this. Jose Alvarado, he could shoot somewhat well from outside the arc. Really good perimeter defender. He's going to be able to fight around screens. He's going to be that energy guy that this bench really needs. He could facilitate. He could handle the ball. He's going to bring so much energy to Madison Square Garden. It's going to be so much fun to watch him. We got him for super cheap. He's only at around $4.5 million this year. So we actually went down with obviously Guerschon Yabusele going to Chicago. So yeah, obviously there wasn't too much activity at the deadline for the Knicks, but I liked how this deadline went. I'd grade it like a B plus maybe. Obviously Giannis didn't get traded, so that's good for us. I think Leon Rose handled this situation pretty well. Jose Alvarado's a perfect fit. He's like a better version of Tyler Kolek. I love this deal.
Yeah, and before I do jump into my point, for those who aren't aware of the Deuce McBride news, basically he has what is a core muscle injury, also known as a sports hernia. So he's going to have to undergo surgery for that on Friday, and that's going to take him out for at least 8 to 10 weeks, as from what I've been seeing is like the usual recovery time for that, which could keep him out until the postseason. And hopefully, fingers crossed, he's healthy enough to come back for the postseason, and we can get an Alvarado and McBride backcourt off the bench, because I personally think that would be an absolutely great backcourt, defensively and offensively. But moving on to Alvarado for a second here, even just looking aside from the Deuce McBride stuff, I love this because Jose Alvarado brings an edge to the table a little bit. Like, yes, a lot of people were saying we don't need another guard, and theoretically that is true. We have a lot of guards on the roster, but we don't have guys that like really have an edge to them. Jose Alvarado has that edge. He is a guy who is not afraid to get physical. He's not afraid to stand up for his teammates. He's not afraid to do something about it. We saw him get in that fight with Mark Williams just a month ago, and while that may seem like nothing to most people, that does show something to me. That shows that he's willing to stand up for himself and his teammates. So even something like that, I liked having that. I like having that energy on my team. It's something the Knicks have been missing really all year. They get it from a handful of guys like Josh Hart, but 90% of this roster doesn't have that kind of fire to them. Jose Alvarado does, and I think he's going to bring a huge spark off the bench just with his energy alone. But looking at his play style, as you mentioned, the defense, the shooting, the playmaking, I am more fascinated about the playmaking and the defense. Those are the two things right there that I think are like the best things for this team for him to bring to the table, because that's something they've been missing a little bit off the bench. Like, they have guys that can score a little bit. You have Landry Shamet, Jordan Clarkson here and there gets minutes, and Tyler Kolek is providing impact. Deuce McBride, when healthy, of course, provides a lot of scoring. Right now, we're going to be missing that scoring from McBride for a little bit, but it's okay because Alvarado can provide some of that to some level. He's averaging about 7.5 points this season, shooting 36% from three on about 4 attempts per night from beyond the arc. So aside from all that stuff, he brings not like anything crazy, but the defense is something I'm really fascinated about. He brings hustle, he brings energy. He's good on ball. He's good at point of attack. He's good in the passing lanes. He's active. That's something I'm really excited to see. And I think Knicks fans are going to fall in love with Jose Alvarado really quickly. The kid is from Queens. He is a native of New York. He's back home now. He's going to be playing in his hometown, and he's playing for a contender. He has not really been on good teams for most of his career. He spent his entire career up to this point, moved to New Orleans Pelicans, and they haven't exactly been very good during his tenure. It's not his fault, but they just haven't been very good. And now he's joining a team that is really competing for a championship and that firmly believes they can win a title this season. So, Johnny, I want to just move on to the next part of this, with trade deadline and stuff. Obviously, they brought in Alvarado, but that was all they did. There was a bunch of other guys they were rumored to get, such as Giannis, as we've already talked about dozens of times. Good news is he did not get traded, so we will be able to have that conversation about Giannis again in the offseason, which I am looking forward to talking about. But we can move on from Giannis from now. There were other targets as well that they didn't go after, such as Sadiq Bey, Najee Marshall. None of them, those two guys, as I just mentioned, didn't even get traded. And I honestly thought they were going to get traded. So, Johnny, when you consider factors like that, like, how would you grade this deadline? I know you brought up a grade before, but like, I kind of want to hear a little bit more about like what you think this deadline was for the Knicks and if it was a good one considering what the rest of the teams did.
Yeah, I think the Knicks played it pretty well. Of course, we would have liked to see a Sadiq Bey or an Yves Missi, somebody like that, but they got Jose Alvarado. They got a guy, at least. With Deuce going down, we really needed somebody off the bench. So I like what Leon Rose did. He kind of navigated this well. With Giannis not off the board, that's also huge. We saved a lot of our assets. And I think I don't want to talk about Giannis. I really don't, but like it really feels like he wants to be a Knick. I feel like it's either championship or Giannis in the summer. I feel like he would have been dealt. I don't know, because I think a lot of the packages that the Heat were talking about were like honestly really good packages. You were getting, Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, some other young pieces, and like 5 or 6 first-round picks. That felt like a good enough package, but it obviously didn't happen. So I feel good about the Knicks going into the summer. We saved a lot of assets. We picked up a player in Alvarado who's going to make an impact. Didn't give up a lot for him. So I think Leon Rose navigated this trade deadline quite well. It makes me feel better that guys like, as you said, Yves Missi, Najee Marshall, Sadiq Bey weren't moved. And I think the Pelicans might be a little stingy on that. There were reports saying they like their roster. They think their roster can contend, which is just insane, obviously.
The most untouchable roster for a 13,
like, what are we doing?
Team I've ever seen. But okay.
So I'm glad Leon Rose didn't overpay. That's the biggest thing. I didn't want him to overpay going into this trade deadline because, as you said, and as we've been talking about for a while, I'd like to keep my assets for the summer for obvious reasons. But yeah, I like Jose Alvarado a lot. I think, as you said, Knicks fans are going to fall in love with this dude. He's going to be a guy where opposing teams in the playoffs are just going to hate him. He will remind a lot of teams of like that TJ McConnell type player who's just going to be making an impact, getting these buckets, making defensive stops. He's going to be that type of player, and I love that. The Knicks need a guy like that. So I'm really excited to see him, in a playoff environment. Madison Square Garden, that's going to be electric. And Jose Alvarado feels like a guy. He feels like the most obvious case where a guy who has been on a bad team his whole career goes to a contender and his efficiency numbers go off, or he just plays better. I feel like that's the type of guy we're going to get with Jose Alvarado. Yeah,
kind of like Josh Hart when we traded for Josh.
Exactly. This feels like a Josh Hart situation. Now, maybe Josh Hart, yeah, I'd say they're a little bit. I mean, Josh Hart's probably better when he was on the Blazers than Alvarado is on the Pelicans now. Don't get me wrong, but that same level of impact, that jump that they could have, I could see Alvarado, shooting 39% from 3 with the Knicks this season. I really could, which would be huge. If we could get another sharpshooter like that off the bench and a guy who could also facilitate and create open looks for his teammates, that's huge. So I think this is a really good deadline for the Knicks. Of course, I would have liked to get a backup big. Now, the buyout market is open. We could still add a player. Don't get me wrong. The Knicks aren't necessarily done, and we have $1.1 million.
This trade also gave them $1 million in cap space,
exactly,
or below the second apron, I should say. Yeah. So they have room now to add a player through the buyout market, as you just mentioned. They have room to do that. They have room to do a lot more. They have flexibility for not only that, but also to re-sign Mitchell Robinson, Landry Shamet, Mohamed Diawara, guys like that that are on these one-year deals that are making an impact that they might want to bring back. They have more flexibility now than ever to get those done. And of course, they can still do something in the summer, as we just mentioned. Giannis, possibly making a move for him in the summer, because now in the summer, you'll have more tradable assets. They didn't have a first-round pick to trade this at the deadline, which is why it would have been really tough for them to get a deal done. Thankfully, Giannis is staying in Milwaukee, so they will have yet a third opportunity to go after him, because they had their opportunity in August, they had an opportunity now, and they will have a third try in the summer. So I think we'll be able to revisit that conversation when the time comes. I'm hoping that we can talk about a team that won the championship that's pursuing that in June. But until we reach that point, it's clear that the Knicks are liking their core right now. They like the group they have. They have won 8 games in a row. They have seemed to figure it out on both ends of the floor. We're starting to see the best version of this group that we've probably ever seen, even last year. This is probably the best version of the group that we have seen up to this point. I'm hoping that can continue. And now that you're adding Alvarado to the mix, I think it's only going to get better. That's what I want to say about some of those things. But before we do wrap things up, I want to give you an opportunity for any final thoughts and any other hints and stuff that we could be looking at, looking ahead to Alvarado in a Knicks uniform and anything else.
Yeah, so I don't want to talk in hypotheticals or what ifs, but say you remove that 2-9 stretch that we had where we clearly were not ourselves. That's not Knicks basketball. That's not what this core is. So I'm not necessarily worried. Of course, it sucks that it happened, but that was by far the worst the Knicks will ever play. That's not who they are as a core. And if you remove that stretch, the Knicks are 31-9. That's really, really good. So clearly we're better than last year. I saw a post on Twitter. I can't really pull it up right now, but a lot of the metrics compared to last year, we're better in terms of pace, passing. Defense was pretty much on par. The offense is better. So I like the direction this team is heading. I would love to see Jose Alvarado play against Detroit on Friday. That would be awesome. But yeah, I'm really happy.
Probably won't happen though, unfortunately.
Probably won't happen.
Probably won't happen.
Sure. But you could expect them against Boston. Can't really complain at that.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun. I think he's a perfect fit. I think Leon navigated this trade deadline quite well, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I am impressed with how Leon handled this, because they essentially turned Yabusele, a guy who was out of the rotation, a guy who just simply wasn't working, it wasn't working out, into Jose Alvarado. That's essentially what they did, and I commend Leon Rose for managing to do that and doing it very swiftly. For Yabusele's sake, I wish it worked out. I really do, because both of us were very much happy with the signing when it happened this past summer. I really thought he was going to solve a lot of different problems. It just didn't work out. From what I did see, though, he actually is a big reason why this trade was able to occur, because he worked with the Knicks to get rid of that second-year player option, to amend it, and to get them moved to Chicago. And if that doesn't happen, they don't land Alvarado. And if they were to land Alvarado, it might cost a little more. They might have had to move like Jordan Clarkson or Landry Shamet or somebody of that caliber to bring him in. Instead, they were able to move Yabusele for Dalen Terry and then flip Terry and 2 second-rounders for Alvarado. That's an absolute steal. You're turning guys who didn't play into a guy who's going to make an immediate impact for you. So I'm really happy with how that played out. But I do think this is a good spot to wrap the episode up. I really am happy with how the trade deadline went. And let us know what you guys think about the trade deadline and getting Jose Alvarado in the comment section below, because we would love to hear about that and talk with you guys about that stuff. You can follow us on all of our social media platforms as well. We are on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course the YouTube page that you just watched the video on. And you can follow me and Johnny's personal Twitter accounts as well. We will link those in the description. We will see you guys in the next episode of Fireside Knicks. Peace out, and let's go Knicks.